Our guest tonight is Anastasia, the Mystic of New Orleans. We're excited to have her. She is always such a pleasure. And she's going to share something really important with people who are interested in evolving or raising their own psychic abilities to a higher level. Tips that she would give someone who's wanting to do that. So, Anastasia, what is your first tip?
My first tip, Pat, is to get over the fear, the imposter syndrome. Don't worry about that. When you understand about your intuition, which is a strange consciousness if you're not used to it, you'll learn where in your body it will pop up and let you know. I can say that mine is sometimes in my tummy, and I get tight, tight, tight along my back and in my tummy. And then the other thing is that my tummy is a good indication of that. The other thing is you just have to learn to trust your intuition. It comes like lightning speed. There's no question. The anxiety crops up, and that's where you start asking questions. So you have to learn how to differentiate those two. And it's not easy, but you can do it with meditation. Another thing is don't fit into anybody else's idea and copy them because what they're doing may not be what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, it's a great guide for you, and it can be lessons learned, possibly of what not to do sometimes. And if you go, oh my gosh, they're so much better than me, don't do that. That does not reinforce your abilities. It goes back into that fear. So, those are the two main ones. The other third one is cleansing and grounding. Get some sort of ritual going to where every once in a while, I don't care if it's every full moon, every new moon, every seasoning, season. Gosh, I got food on my mind. Every season, when there's an equinox or a solstice, do a cleanse. Or when the zodiac changes from one sign to the other, ground yourself within that zodiac sign so that you are able to really tune into those energies that that particular sign offers you. The grounding is real simple and quick with aspects of putting your feet on the ground barefoot. I can say meditation again. Can't say meditation enough. Really ought to learn how to meditate. The cleansing can be, I believe, I hope this doesn't sound too strange to some of you, but taking a bath in goat's milk with different herbs like rue. Rue resets everything and clears out everything. With different herbs, it's a spiritual bath. Or just a regular shower or Epsom salt bath and let it go all down the drain. Um, Another one is don't be so quick into finding your gifts. Let them unfold naturally because one will lead to the other. I say this because I don't look like it, but I have cerebral palsy and I waddle like a penguin. That's another reason why they call me the Duchess because I'm always best dressed. But that's beside the point. The point is that just like a person who is blind or a person who is deaf or has any other limitations, they have this ability heightened, um, hyper as well, heightened and hyper. And you're able to really tune into that if you have those things, because I think everybody's psychic, and it's just a matter of tuning in and accepting and being open to that consciousness. And I don't care what religion you happen to be in, what faith you have, it's all a God source. Is there a bad source that comes along with this? Yes. That's why you have to be careful and cleanse yourself and ground yourself.
A quick question before you move on,
Yes.
Anastasia. Okay, you said that everyone is psychic. Do you think that there are levels of talent in the psychic realm, just like there's levels of physical talent?
Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's why I was saying that's when someone has limitations, we all have limitations, but when you have limitations like I do, you're heightened. It's that skill set is really with you, and it's a matter of recognizing it and utilizing it and building upon it and empowering yourself. Look at animals. Look how intuitive they are. You know, um, they're pretty psychic too. So that's always a good judge if you have a dog. Watch how they behave around certain people. You can always tell. But back to being a person being psychic, there are so many different ways that you can hear, smell, taste, see. And just because you can't hear it does not mean it's not there. And if you want to build that side of the ability, work on it. Use that muscle that you already have to hopefully lead you to that aspect. And it'll open up for you once you master this one. I have to say that mastering it might not be the right word, because it seems to come in layers, and right when I think I've got it all figured out, I don't, and there's a new layer and a new lesson, and my abilities increase, and I'm going, how is that even possible? But it is. So whatever you are blessed with, or cursed, depending on how you look at it, if it's hearing, if it's tasting, if it's smelling, or really feeling, work with that to get to the other, and hopefully that other will come. The other thing is, and I can't stress this enough, for goodness sakes, have ethics. This is a special divine gift. Please use it wisely to empower and to help people, not destroy them. Make sure that you are always of service, not being serviced and greedy, because I've seen that happen over and over, many, many times. And you can do that if you want, but karmically speaking, that ought to be interesting. I'll be over here eating popcorn and drinking root beer, watching from afar. I don't like to pass judgment, but I cannot express to you how important ethics is when it comes to being a psychic. You don't discuss what you had between you and your client with anyone else without their permission. You don't even work with your client until they give you permission. I I don't know what else to say with that. And always say the truth, even though it may sound silly sometimes, because some of the information I've gotten along the way, I didn't understand, but it made sense to them, which goes back to that first fear, that first tip of fear. You feel like you're being an imposter because you're getting this information. You go, and it will resonate with them. So trust it. Most of all, Work always from love, whatever that looks like, because there are so many different levels and layers of love. That truly is key. The Beatles had it right. Love is the answer.
We have mentioned that psychic ability, that all mediums are psychic,
Yes,
but not all psychics are mediums. And all
correct.
that means is that mediumship itself is a psychic ability or an additional sense to the senses that we already have. Is there any advice, just quick advice, that you would give someone who is a natural medium?
Definitely learn boundaries and the cleansing and grounding when speaking with the dead. Realize how to protect yourself, protect where you live, mostly because if you are open and you know you have that ability when you go into public and or are working, you have to understand what protections you require. I wear certain metals, certain stones, as odd as that sounds. Every room in my house and entrance to my house has a piece of iron, whether it be a railroad spike or whatever. But when you are medium, you are working with, you're blessed with that. You have such a wonderful gift to help people understand why they died, their loved ones who they left behind, can communicate with them. And when I say why they died, I always associate that because they may have exited really quick and don't know they're dead. That happens too. Do you ever have that one, Pat? The people that,
The exit quickly. People who exit quickly can often be a bit lost. The
yeah,
whole idea of being lost, and they're also easily, like, if you tell them to turn around or start looking for the light, it's
yes.
very easy to cross them over.
That goes back to ethics. You don't have to, but I strongly suggest that you be there so that you can help them cross over and be within the light, or you can give their family some sort of peace of mind and tell them sometimes messages. I had one lady that she was looking for something, and we I got told where it was, and sure enough it was. But you've got to be really careful being a medium. Being psychic is one thing, being medium and a psychic is a whole lot different, because it's like being a medium is like being a psychic on steroids, maybe. It's really open because you're able to cross over into that veil. You can chantel. It's a different frequency. And
You can be okay, say you're psychic. There's not as much at stake, and I'm gonna say this in most instances, and I'll tell you why. Like, if somebody is wanting to know will their ex come back to them, if he doesn't show up, they will heal, they will go on. But if you have, and I'm giving an example, a family that is sitting in front of you and their loved one is missing, you are the one that has to deliver the message that that loved one has shot themselves and they're out in the woods somewhere, okay? That's heavy. That is really heavy. Unless you're a cold-hearted bitch, it's going to be a very heavy message to give.
yes, there are, but ethically, if you see it, you've been given that vision for a reason. And I believe that you ought to share that with their family the best way you can.
Be prepared because see the thing is when you're a psychic and you say he is or isn't coming back, there's a few tears. But when you tell a family that you have just experienced the death of their loved one and he ain't ever coming back, and you hear the screams and the squeals and the horrified intake of breath, the and the outpouring of energy that hits you is like a
Oh, you
tsunami.
get that? Yes. It that energy, I've tried to avoid that, but yes, you can't. It hits you like a ton of bricks. Yes,
It
ma'am.
does. So so when she talks about ethics, there's more to this. Don't believe the shows. They make everything just look like a big party. And although it's the most fulfilling thing that someone who has a gift can do, right? It really is to give these messages. It's also very painful.
Yes, it is, or it can be. I usually find mediumship more of a somber thing than a happy thing like when I do tarot readings, if that makes any sense. Not that tarot readings can't be awful news, because they can be, but even when I'm delivering that kind of news, like, oh my gosh, I see that they get into a car wreck, I say, might want to be careful with your car, you know, on this date or around this time. There's, some funkiness going on, or you might want to revise taking that trip. you know, you I find diplomatic ways as best as possible, but when it comes to mediumship, I don't think, Pat, that there is any diplomatic way, because it's far more intense. It's far more intense.
I will have to admit, I'm a Scorpio. We talked about this. My beautiful guest there is a Leo. And so we do approach things differently. For me, I'm very comfortable with most aspects mediumship. But there are circumstances where someone doesn't know someone is passed, so they haven't mourned. There's none of that that's been let loose, so to speak. And when you're the one delivering that message, number one, doggone, make sure you're as right as you can be. That's why I wouldn't answer that question right away. That's why I ended up in the hospital. You want to make sure because if you don't, you have caused grief to someone.
Correct, to
And
somebody that does not deserve, nor they don't need that. That's not right.
well, I have to ask, you like the psychic end of things. So what's your favorite memory of a psychic reading? And I'm sure there's been so many, but is there one that kind of pops out?
There was a very famous musician who lives in San Francisco. Him and his wife came to visit me, and I've been reading both of them for 10 years or so. And she works within Silicon Valley, and he's a musician. And they were attempting to get pregnant, but I picked up on this before I even laid the cards down. And when they come to my house, it's a little bit different than when I read you on the street or in a shop. We were having mimosas and the mystic time. So, with that said, I laid out the cards and I'm telling the story, and I'm so animated sometimes that they could see by my face. They're going, Anastasia, is something wrong? I said, I don't know what y'all been doing, but you might want to either reel it in or get even more busier, because there's the birth of a child. And they were so ecstatic that it was not funny. Sure enough, child was born. It was a girl, and her name was Parker, is Parker. She's about 5 years old. And that gave me such joy, because it was something that they had wanted to accomplish. They wanted to do that, and there were issues, and it wasn't not by them not trying, but yeah, there I don't know. That was one of my most happiest. My other one is just watching a young lady gain back control of her life and evolve and be more empowered and stand up within her boundary, have stronger boundaries. That one was good too. She had a rough time, but she left the situation. She got clean on top of that, and now she is doing phenomenal. She makes six figures a year. It's pretty good for her with no real education there, and just her experience because she's had a lot of that. So I mean, it's readings like that. COVID, there were two guys that came, and they were producers, and I didn't know it, but I could feel it. And when I asked about something, they confirmed, yes, we are the producers for that show. And I said, well, it's going to get rudely interrupted. And it did. And I know the show's now out on, I don't know, is it American? I don't know what network. I can't keep up with those things. I just kind of watch them, but I see them now and then walking around. So, yes. But the most is the baby, the baby.
For any of you that are interested in getting a hold of Anastasia, we have her Facebook page is Anastasia Mystic of New Orleans. She does readings. You said you also have some books up?
Yes, I have a couple of ebooks that I have. I
Excellent.
have them, of course, on tarot cards. I teach courses on tarot, so you can always get me for that as well. I have several different courses of saints and the tarot, your birth card for tarot, the essentials of tarot, where it really gets into everything and anything about tarot cards. I can be a mentor, or I can just have the classes, either or. I still do readings via Zoom or Google. I can be reached through the website, my email, or Facebook, and that's pretty much. Oh, I think my Instagram is still up. My webpage we are working on still, but you can buy the prints for the tarot cards that we are designing, and I have put them in like the major arcana, uh, all the swords, all the uh, pentacles and wands, and the quartz cards are all individual books. Then there's the great big book. So yes, and
And also find her on Facebook, get in touch with her. Obviously, a brilliant reader. If you haven't read with her, and I'm sure it would be a treat. So until next, Pat O'Keefe's World of Curiosities. Stay curious.